okay. What do you envision as the next steps? So what is it? Oh, I didn't see an agenda. I'm like, ready to go? All right, good afternoon, fellow Laceyonians. It is 5:31 on March 5th, 2025. I'd like to call this Parks Cultural and Recreation Board meeting to order. We'll start with roll call and everyone online. So Sue, if you just want to start with yourself and we'll try to work our way across.
Sue Vailash, Recreation Manager.
Hillary Dykstra, Commissioner, and this is Harvey.
Bill Fosbury, Commissioner.
We're on the table, starting with Hillary.
Lori Davies, Commissioner.
Gary Larson, Commissioner.
Aaron Wheeler, Board Chair.
Jen Burbidge, Director of Parks, Culture, and Recreation.
Jenny Wilson, Parks Planner.
Carter Gibson,
Carter Gibson.
Executive Assistant, and Scott Carter, Recreation Supervisor. And folks from the Park Foundation will introduce when
Good.
it's okay.
All right. Awesome. And so just as a reminder, we, the city of Lacey, are on the ancestral lands of the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek, including the Nisqually Indian Tribe and Squaxin Island Tribe. We acknowledge and remember those tribal people not recognized today who were absorbed or relocated into other tribes for survival. We recognize the ancestors and their descendants who are still here. We recognize and respect the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek as the traditional stewards of this land since time immemorial, and their role today is taking care of these lands in perpetuity. We recognize and have the responsibility to call attention to the histories of disposition, forced removal, and abridged treaty rights that allowed our nation, state, and city to develop as they have today. We recommend that the community members read the Medicine Creek Treaty of 1854. So awesome. Moving on to item number 4, approval of the agenda and minutes. So I would like to call for an approval of an amended agenda. So we are going to be moving, Jen is going to be giving her director's report directly after the Park Foundation, item A. And so if I can get a motion to approve that agenda.
I move to approve the agenda, amended agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the agenda is approved. All right, then moving on to the approval of the February 5th, 2025 meeting minutes. I would like to make have a motion to approve the 2/5/25 meeting minutes.
I actually read them this time,
Oh,
all the way
every
through.
time, right?
No,
Oh,
not every time, but I did read them this time.
and were there any objections?
No.
No, okay.
So I move approval of the meeting minutes.
Awesome.
Second.
We got a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, the February 5th, 2025 meeting minutes have been approved. All right, so, and it looks like there's no public comment that was written in, or that was waiting online or written in for comment. And then there was some public comments that were in the back of your packets that you guys can read at your time. All right, moving on to number 6, business items. So we have the Park Foundation of Thurston County. We've got Ashley Chandler and Jim Cainber here. So please come join us around our table.
We have our, have two seats over the front here, if you would like to. Oh,
yes, the front. Where it says staff.
Closer to the screen.
And while she's pulling that up, I just wanted to say a couple of words. The Park Foundation has been providing support for Lacey Parks for, gosh, when did the Park Foundation, I know it's over 30 years.
Very long time.
Very, very long time. So some of you may know, some of you may not know, they come to the Parks Board, Lacey Parks Board every year and give a report. And share, what they're working on. Of course, we're the most interested in all things Lacey, but we also love to hear about, their reach is you know, they'll talk about it, but their reach is beyond Lacey and throughout the county and, you know, all of us here in the parks, arts and culture and recreation world. Love to hear about these projects. So anyway, just wanted to say thank you for all the years of support and we're looking forward to seeing what you're up to. For having us.
Thank you, Director Burbidge. Thanks again, no, thanks Jen for inviting us today. We are thrilled to partner with the City of Lacey, as we do with the cities of Tumwater, Olympia, Tenino, and Yelm, as well as Thurston County. So we have a unique relationship with all those entities to provide sort of overarching support for all of the activities relating to parks, arts, culture in the community. So anyway, we have for you an overview here, and I think we can just get right into the next slide if we could. So our foundation is made up of a great group of community members from around the county. We do serve all of Thurston County. You'll see the leadership there. Ashley clearly is the president. Cynthia Pratt, of course, former city council member and poet laureate, I believe, of the city of Lacey, and a couple other folks. I think two more of those might, to my recollection, be residents of the city of Lacey or the urban growth area. Anyway, and then the next three staff there at the bottom. And so we have, of course, every organization as a nonprofit has a mission. This is strengthen communities and quality of life, and that's the mission of the organization. Next slide, please. We unlike some at the national level, are very interested in vibrant communities and inclusive communities, and I think we join with the City of Lacey in a focus on those important aspects, and we try to reflect that in our work as well. So we like to start off letting everyone know that this is an important value of our organization. Next slide, please. Spotlight on community giving. So one of the major ways that we support the communities in general, as aside from just the Parks Department, is our giving. And you can see here that we have awarded nearly $1 million. Hopefully this year we'll exceed $1 million. That's part of the goal throughout Thurston County. In 2024, we granted over 100,000, and I think you'll see later in the budget, the goal is very similar for 2025. Here's some of the groups that we've supported, a couple Lacey specific, the City of Lacey in particular, but you'll note that these are groups generally that support Laceyonians, is that correct?
That's what I said.
That's what
I call it.
Laceyonians. I know you guys have been working on that, so try a few different ones on. We're so thankful for the community support, but you can see this is kind of a catch-all of the, Tanglewild, there you go, that's within the area, among others, but this is just the vast majority, but there are others, and this is the kind of work that we support. Next slide, please. We've got a number of priorities this year, and we wanted to outline them for you because of your investment in our continued partnership. Of course, we've mentioned that our grant program, we have 100,000 committed for this year. We realize that applicants, and some of them have full teams of grant writers, including the City of Olympia, and some have a more modest team, including your team here in Lacey, but many don't. And so we've really simplified our grant application program so that community organizations can feel comfortable applying for our grants. We've got a timeline to have key partners. We're prioritizing right now. We're in the middle of the early stages of the grant process, getting it ready, and then it'll open in April, and then we will be going on for approval. So this is less the City of Lacey and more the constituents groups that you saw earlier that are applying for scholarships. These are the priority funding areas of stewardship, arts, resiliency, and youth scholarship. So that's our first priority for the year. Next slide, please. So community building and placemaking, a number of events that we support or sponsor completely for this area. Of course, Earth Day is a national, international organization, but we are the local stewards of that brand. So coming up very quickly, April 19th, working closely with Jen on finding a location for that within the City of Lacey this year. We've been at Wonderwood Park many years. This year it is already booked, so we're looking for another spot to be able to really invest some volunteer time in the City of Lacey. A couple other items to highlight there. Of course, National Trails Day, that's new for us. And we're looking forward to working on that. We're looking forward to some really good trails when Great Cuyo Park gets up and running. So that down the road could be a real exciting one for the city of Lacey. A couple other options that we're working on, including our Park After Dark, our biennial evening event, to try to just bring people together to support the work of the Park Foundation. You'll see in planning on partnerships, that's an important aspect of the work that we do with the relationship between our organization and the city. And in this case, the Great Cuyo Park Phase A1 is the call out under this planning and partnerships category for this year. So we've been working on we did work on the cooperative partner grant there that was submitted in 2025 already. In the city of Olympia, we're working with the Armory. This year, we're hoping to do a nonprofit board training for partner organizations. So that undoubtedly will touch the city of Lacey as well, not the city itself, but residents of the city, and then other projects. Any questions so far? I've kind of been rushing through, but I wanted to keep to time. Okay.
Oh, real quick, I'll just insert the other area we're looking for help with is our youth financial assistance program.
And that was called out on the previous screen. It was listed as youth scholarships, but
got it.
as a priority for 2025, we anticipate that will indeed be included again this year. Thank you for calling that out, Jen. We probably should have put that in here. Of course, we have Wonderwood Park because that's where it's traditionally been, but this year Earth Day will take an action somewhere else in the city of Lacey, most likely. So 2024 is coming up quickly. We are working feverishly with the Lions Club, of course, of Lacey. I think it's Lamplighters, is that right? Lamplighters is different. Olympia hosts Lions.
Yeah, it's the what's the early one?
Sunrise.
Or
Sunrise.
Sunrise, thank you.
Lacey Sunrise. I'm a lion, so.
Okay, perfect. Yes, so that's a great partnership that's gone on for many, many years. We're looking forward to doing it again this year. There is, a lot of people don't realize we have a lot of prizes that we give for those organizations, mostly schools and PTAs, who bring in the most volunteers to help. I've attended a number of years and it's a lot of fun, yeah. So we're excited to do that in partnership with the city of Lacey again. Let's see, this annual event took 5 parks throughout Thurston County and nearly 700 volunteers. Next slide, please. And there's some of our pictures from Wonderwood. We pulled a lot of darn ivy every year. Seems like the ivy just comes back and we're probably pulling the same ivy years after year, but we're still going at it. Okay, so next priority for the organization as a whole, as you grow and as you become more effective in your work, of course, you need to modernize your systems and continue to do the good, just sort of the housekeeping of an organization and the best practices. So we've got a few things here that are not particularly earth-shattering, but are important to us. As a matter of fact, we worked on possibly onboarding a new member of our organization this evening, earlier today. We've got board development, governance, and financial stability, really just ensuring that the organization maintains the impressive financial stability that we have over the 20 years we've been around.
It's almost 30.
It's going on 30, wow. Okay, thank you. And our budget. So you can see we are a lean, mean operating machine. We have 3 contracted staff that myself included, Danielle and Joe, but we are not full-time, so there's no overhead associated with us. We keep it very, very lean. And as you can see, with 3 people, 58.5, that's not much. Keeping operating and other events costs low so that we can drive as much as we can back into the community. And you'll notice that there's way more going out into the community by far than overhead. And hopefully this year, we expect to have a little left over that we can throw into our endowment so that we can keep growing that every year. I think, is there one more slide? Cute. So I just want to, if I may, that's not on the schedule here, just talk about a couple of the other projects. Do we have time for that we're working on in other jurisdictions?
Sure.
So the Park Foundation is particularly proud of its work in the other communities. Of course, we're proud of the work in Lacey, and the partnership is fantastic, as I mentioned earlier. We were the lead organization in working with the city of Tenino, bringing together a partnership with a major foundation from the area, the Angela Bowen Foundation. The request was to purchase 66 acres adjacent to their park in downtown Tenino, and we did do that with them. We worked really hard with the organization. We went to the landowner was very excited. We purchased 66 acres, literally attached to the park. So it triples, I think, the size of the park in general. We're continuing to work with the stone carvers of Tenino also on another parcel that would be the front corner of the park, that would be a spot for them to create their art of stone carving, which of course is a big tradition in Tenino with the Tenino sandstone. In the city of Olympia, we helped secure I think it was a $10 million commitment from the same organization to acquire, no, it was a 10-acre parcel, my mistake.
That's
10-acre
okay.
parcel that was far less than 10 million, within the city boundaries to expand one of their parks and put a connection between the Ralph Monroe Trail and that park. So a real exciting acquisition, and we took the lead on connecting the organization and helping facilitate that for the city. In the city of Yelm, we've been very, very proud. We were able to secure, this is a couple of years back now, but it's now coming into fruition. We secured we drafted and secured a $2.3 million RCO grant, Recreation Conservation Office grant from the state of Washington. That was something they didn't have the capacity to do as a city. We stepped in, we brought Bob Droll, who's on our board among others, brought them together. We got a talented team and we went for that grant and got it. That grant will connect the let's see, Tenino, Rochester, Rainier Trail. There's a spot that does not have a connection between that and Pierce County. We got that connection finished. So there's so many other projects. We've been working in Boston Harbor on a possible expansion of Burfoot Park, working with the community organization there and facilitating conversations with the county and others. We're supporting the county on a couple projects that they're not ready to go live with, but would be very exciting for all the residents of Thurston County. So that, along with all the contributions we've made to local organizations and the support we've given, and incubating organizations, if anyone is aware of the Puget Sound Estuarium, we were the incubating organization that founded that group, which is now purchasing that corner of State and Franklin and downtown Olympia and expanding their facility. So the organization is a lot bigger than maybe we are proud of our contribution here, but we do a lot of work around the county. And I want to answer any questions if I may.
And real quick, I'll add too, in terms of property acquisition, we've talked quite a bit about that, but as you all know, because you helped with the comprehensive plan update, is that we're not in an acquisition phase because we're trying to get people out onto the properties that the public currently has. And so, yeah, that's been, but it's an ongoing conversation. So if there was an opportunity, I think that's something that could, if it was exactly what we needed.
Well, and Jen, even more than that, I think, and the other thing that we do is we facilitate the conversation, cross-jurisdictional conversation with the parks directors. And we do it biennially at this point, and we have a robust conversation about what the regional park needs are and what the regional needs of community for recreation and arts. And I think that's the parks directors talk a lot and they're really collaborative, but I think having an outside organization help facilitate that in that manner is also very productive for the city and for the entire region. So that we're really proud of that work as well.
It looks like Hillary, you have a question?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, I had to find my microphone button. So I heard you talk about helping cities acquire land. Do you also help cities with like major or specific maintenance costs, like playgrounds that need replacing or things like that?
For regular maintenance and such, we've not been successful in finding ways in which to have those things funded, other than occasionally supporting a jurisdiction or a nonprofit in acquiring some money from local community projects from the state of Washington. We would support that sort of work if the city was going for an allocation from the state. We have supported RCO grants, many RCO grants at this point. Of course, City of Olympia has a team that does this. We supported, I think we supported couple of them.
Yeah, they're actually committed to that $5,000 contribution. Should we get we're waiting to find out about the Rainier Vista pickleball additions.
So
So I guess in that way, if there was a playground replacement that we applied for, there might be a matching opportunity.
So we're much better at acquisition and construction than we are at maintenance, which of course is the Achilles heel of every parks department in the region.
Yes, and I'm sorry, what does RCO stand for?
Recreation and Conservation Office. And they manage several grants that have to do with every manner of recreation and conservation, from
Okay.
repairing or installing, there's a maintenance concept, replacing, say, an aged restroom facility at a park, or a aged parking lot, or updating trails or installing trails. They have all these little niche within the state budget, little niches that they can fill. And they have a couple different major grant portals. Definitely take a look at their website. They do amazing work.
They're a state agency.
They're state agency, yeah, state
Okay,
funded,
cool. Thank you.
absolutely.
I'd like to touch on the Achilles heel real quick. I think you mean in like being able to afford the M&O, not the parks maintenance.
Oh, absolutely, certainly not in Lacey. You have
They are
You have
the best.
absolutely beautifully maintained parks, and I do
Oh,
mean
yeah, I figured
in
you
terms
meant
of
the
bringing
putting the
bringing new
coffers.
money, yeah, the
Yes.
the Achilles heel and the funding mechanisms.
Yes.
To find new money, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I'm sure, believe Lacey does that just about as well, or if not better than anyone.
And
Yeah.
when you said that the majority is construction and purchasing of land and doing those kind of things, but it's mostly in a matching way, so the city would come to you and they would have a proposal, they would have a certain amount of funding, and then the foundation would match
Oh,
that funding.
mean,
Is
that's
that how
one way.
is that how it works? Or is
Well,
it-
we assist, we don't have you saw our budget. We're not,
Yeah, you're
we're not an
pretty
organization
lean.
that can write huge checks to acquire things without a dedicated funding stream. So we've just actually acquired our first actual piece of property, which we intend to give to the city of Tenino. That was because we got a grant from the state of Washington to assist the stone carvers in constructing a facility. So that money will be reimbursed by the state and then back to our coffers, and then they'll use the rest of those funds through us. That's another thing that we do, is facilitating and being the fiscal agent for emerging nonprofits, including the stone carvers. We just had another one from the city of Olympia, deaf dancers that are gonna come under our umbrella. The Estuarium came under our umbrella. We've brought part of Arts Walk. We took over their insurance for the procession of the species, was it? Yeah, so we do those sorts of partnerships when they just don't have the capacity because they're an all volunteer army, or they're just getting up and going. The nice thing about that is when they do, and if you are working with a group that would like to, create a new nonprofit, if they fit within our mission and we agree to it, you immediately become a nonprofit because you're under our umbrella. And so we've really been able to offer that opportunity to so many groups in the community. I couldn't name them all. There are probably 12 or 13 of them.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Schreiber, no questions?
No questions for me. It was very comprehensive, and just always, it's great to hear all the contributions you guys do to the community, and no notes. You guys are doing great.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. And if anything comes up the rest of the evening, let us know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It moves.
It moves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you have a meeting to get to, so Jen, why don't you get to your director's report?
Sounds good. I have two things. One is short, one is long. The short one is just that the RAC phase 3 design is underway. And the consultant is working through constraints of the space and kind of where we can put the entrance. There's, a couple of restrictions there. And then the next steps will be working on the concept plans. So we do have, we had the critical areas done. I think Jenny already reported on that. And now we do have the consultants under contract. So actively working on that. So more to come on that later. But the longer one is the Metropolitan Parks District update. and I was gonna share a few slides that were at the council meeting last night. And if you're interested, I would encourage you, I'm gonna give you kind of an abbreviated version. But if you're interested, watch the meeting if you wanna hear all the discussion and everything about it. And within this, I have information about the Young Child and Family Center as well project, so it's related. Oh, sure. Thank you. Yeah, so what we went over with council last night was the timeline for the MPD, the levy amount. We touched on priority projects. We talked about a communication strategy, and our city attorney gave a brief training regarding the use of public facilities and resources. And so here is the timeline. We've got some check marks on some of the things that have already been done. As you know, the work group worked diligently June through December of last year. And then in January, council did designate or agree to the MPD boundary being the city boundary. And that the ballot date would be August 5th. You see that there at the bottom. In March here, we're working on, we talked about the high level communication strategy. We know that the resolution and ballot language is going to be due, I'm gonna jump down there to May 2nd. You see second one from the bottom there. That's the deadline that needs to go to the auditor's office. So then back up in April, hoping to be before council April 1st, but might actually be there again before that point, might be there both dates. But we know that the latest action or meeting that council has is April 15th to get that, to meet that resolution deadline. So a few things still that need to be determined, which I'll talk about. And then as you see there, then April through August would be the community information and engagement to make sure everyone has information about the measure. Again, deadline to the auditor's office, May 2nd, with the August 5th election.
So you guys probably talked about this and I just missed it. So we decided a special election is better than just running it with like a normal November election?
So the council did discuss August being the best timing.
Just
Yeah.
for getting it out there, or did they feel that it would be less cluttered by not having it in a general election? I don't, I should
Yeah.
listen, I guess, to the discussion.
Oh, no, that's okay. They talked through several pros and cons and decided that the August election would be the best timing. So, and I probably have a slide on that somewhere. It's not in this particular one. What was it?
Dave's
Feedback.
a little hot on that mic, so I was trying to.
Oh.
The feedback.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I don't know if we can quickly find that slide. I'm trying to remember where it's at. We have so many presentations. Okay, so we were looking for one of the main things. What's that?
It worse.
So it's
It was better for a second.
there, but it's down almost all the way.
Oh, okay.
It's been happening the whole time. I'm not sure how to. So-
Right, I just saw the little red light peaking when we talked, so I thought maybe if I turned down the gain a little bit, it would help with that, but.
Feel free to mess with it more.
Oh,
Good, continue. Go
is
ahead.
it the sound?
There's just a little feedback, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, so this is one of the big things we needed direction on, the levy amount. And so reminded council of the Parks Improvement Funding Work Group recommendation was the 45 cents per 1,000 assessed value. And which would generate just under 6 million annually for parks. It would cost the homeowner approximately $225 in annual property tax. And then regarding the council project priorities, so what we were looking for last night is for council kind of reconciliation of what council priorities are as compared to the work group recommendations. And so what we had heard from council the last time we had a conversation was that they were interested in potentially moving the additional spray parks up in priority. And the council had also expressed interest in seeing, where the projects were geographically. And so Jenny had prepared this handout with some theme areas. And so, oh gosh, those.
I don't think that's actually effective. It's not peaking anymore, but I don't think that knob is what we had hoped it would, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so those commissioners that are online, we can email this to you.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, we're having
Sounds
trouble.
good.
We're having trouble with our sound.
That's good.
Yeah, so essentially the project key has these different theme areas, which I'll show you a slide that'll correspond, but aquatics and indoor playground is one color. We've got trails and open space access, and then we've got outdoor amenities, kind of color coded. But you can see that the projects on the, in the Parks Capital Improvement Program are spread out throughout Lacey. Are you sending it to him now?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay, Carter is sending that to you now.
And this isn't a static list, because if it's gonna be this levy's gonna be generating year after year after year, right?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So the work group had to focus on a particular list. We know that our capital improvement program does fluctuate based on what the, emergent needs are. But so this is just an example of how things are spread out. And as council kind of narrows down on the top line priorities, it could be that, that's something that we do on a map, just those ones. But I mean, the whole park system, which is everywhere in Lacey, is gonna have needs. So
Yeah.
this will be, kind of an example of how.
But the
projects
levy,
are.
it'll have to be renewed every so many years, right?
So the
Or-
MPD does not have a sunset,
Oh, okay.
right? So there'll be original, kind of the top priority projects, and then it'll be a matter of just decision making.
Yeah, and so you just would add things to this list and move things around, but we still get the money every year.
The funding is annual, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's an annual
Hillary has a
assessment.
question.
Yes, Hillary, or Commissioner
Sorry,
Dykstra,
Sherry.
sorry. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yes, is the cost of the levy, is it going to go up as the cost of maintaining things goes up, or is it set at that rate for the indefinite future?
Yeah, it's set at that rate. And so the valuation sets the rate, and so, it's I have approximate numbers that I can show you, but they are approximate because we don't know the exact numbers of when it would get assessed if it did pass.
Okay.
So I can show you that in an upcoming slide, but it stays, it can be impacted. It's essentially, it's the same amount each year of the total amount, unless there are circumstances that affect that.
Okay.
It gets a little complicated.
I see. I guess my question is that 41 cents per for 1,000 assessed value, is that gonna increase over time? Or is that just gonna stay?
Oh, okay, good question. So it does increase as your property value increases, it does.
But the 41 cents per $1,000, it's not gonna go to like 45 cents per.
Well, okay, so correct, so it is 45 cents.
Oh,
And that
okay.
That does not change. What that does is it just sets the levy, which is
Okay.
the amount per year.
Yeah.
And that will not, that amount will only change. It can go up and down. And if you want to hear the discussion from council last night, I would encourage you to watch it.
Okay. Yeah.
There is discussion about that piece of it.
Yeah. Okay. And lastly, is the levy only applying to like residential properties, or does it apply to all properties in Lacey, commercial, residential?
Yeah, it's all, it is commercial and residential.
Okay.
Yeah, great question.
Thank you for,
Jen, what kind
Yes.
of restrictions is there on the levy for use of the monies? Is there restrictions?
So it is per RCW, which I don't have right in front of me, but it is basically for it's for improvements, acquisition, maintenance, operation, development. I mean, it's all around parks and parks facilities.
But just those in Lacey city limits and not the urban growth boundary, right?
And the boundary is going to be the actual
Lacey
Lacey
city
city limits, yeah. But I can send you the RCW, I can send you the RCW if you wanna read the exact wording.
Yeah, I know with the levies, sometimes there's, but it sounds like you're not very restricted,
The
because you can include salaries too.
That's correct. So, yeah, that is correct. So what the work group found is that after looking at many different funding methods, they found that the Metropolitan Park District format, because of that flexibility, is the best for long-term sustainability, which is why they recommended it to the council.
Some of them can get messy,
And
schools especially.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Dykstra, do you have another question?
Yes, I'm sorry. This will be my last, I think. Is there a reason why it doesn't include like the urban growth areas?
Yeah, so it could, so that's a regional model of a Metropolitan Park District. The one that council decided for Lacey is called a local model.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they did discuss that and decided to move forward with the local model.
Can that be is it possible for that to be revisited in the future?
Another
Would
ballot
you want an entire-
Yeah, it would have to be that, I would think it would.
I guess
Yeah.
my
Process over.
What's that?
It would restart the whole process over.
Yeah, I mean, right, so it somehow, it would have to get
my
voted out and then a different type of a model. Yeah, and so basically what happens with the governance, if it's non-city, there would be members on the board, instead of the city council acting as the board, there would be another government entity that would actually be represented, you'd have representatives from the county and the city on that separate board.
I see.
And then there could be funding that went toward county projects.
I see. I guess my concern, I don't know if it's concern, but question is, it seems like, most new construction, which includes more expensive, higher value homes, is like in the urban growth areas. So the brunt of the cost is on folks living within city limits who there's a lot of low income renters and homeowners in city limits. So I don't know, I guess maybe it poses an equity issue potentially, because everyone's benefiting from the parks, but only those within city limits are really paying for that district, if I understand it correctly.
So that as different neighborhoods in the urban growth area are annexed in, then they would become part of that city boundary.
Okay.
And that's what Tumwater and Olympia both have too. I think,
Okay.
if I understand correctly, there was discussion a long time ago about a regional Metropolitan Park District.
Okay.
And
So as communities grow, they get annexed in within, and then they become part of the city limits.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the urban growth area, the concept is that those areas will eventually be annexed into the
I see.
city.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Regarding the Parks Capital Improvement Program and looking at the projects that the funding could go towards, there's an update on here, and that's what I wanted to share with you. Well, the first thing is, like I mentioned earlier, is we clumped the spray parks all together instead of having the one spray park and then the rest of them as separate line items. We did put those together, so that's an update. And then regarding the indoor playground, and if you'll recall, it used to say pool and indoor playground. And so what I wanna share is that we did take the pool off of that, because if it's gonna go out for MPD, we need to be able to deliver those projects. And so at this time, we cannot deliver a pool, because of the dollar amount and the maintenance and operations, piece of that. And so, we're very much still a partner for that as like the longer term vision of that site. And the YMCA is also very interested in that, as is North Thurston Public Schools. I mean, all of us, obviously want that to happen. And the way the city can best help moving forward with that is to apply, kind of keep our eye on the Defense Communities Infrastructure Program. It's a DCIP, and that's something that the city could apply for to bring in funds, in the future for that endeavor. So once the funding plan can be set, then we can see how the partners can come in. But at this time, again, something that we can deliver is an indoor playground at that site. The YMCA, so we did add some M&O for that indoor playground, the $150,000 a year for maintenance and operations. So the YMCA isn't able to commit at this time to operate it, because they don't know exactly what year it's gonna be built. And so, this way, the city can commit to it, we can provide that to the public, since it's something that will go out, on the proposal. And we obviously want to deliver the things that, go out on the proposal. So that's the update on the indoor playground. Now, if at the time that we're getting ready to build it, should the MPD pass and all that, we would reach out to the YMCA and see if they're in a position to be able to partner on that piece. So, yeah, let's see. It's a little bit long. These are the replacement projects. You'll recognize this. And then this was the side-by-side that we provided for the council to take a look at. This shows a 45 cents per 1,000 valuation. It's approximately 5.9 million that would be generated per year. So in the first, we did a side-by-side 6-year comparison, 35.6 million in the first 6 years. And then what you see broken out there below is the maintenance versus the capital. So the work group also recommended 60% toward capital improvements and 40% toward maintenance and operations. And so this shows that commitment to that, knowing that there would be some flexibility, because you're gonna need more for capital upfront as you build things, and then more later for the maintenance and operations once things are built. And then so you see side by side with the 30 cent amount, which would generate just under $4 million per year, and the first 6 years would generate the 23.7 million.
What was the
And then
last ballot measure?
I was gonna say, keep in mind the projects list that I showed was $56 million for new capital and 6.5 million for some of the M&O type replacement stuff. So just to kind of compare those numbers. And what was the question?
So the last measure that we had on the
Uh-huh.
Park District, what was the amount that we went for that?
The last one
47.
was 47 cents.
So
Yep.
we've dropped down 2 cents.
Yeah, yep. And so this is what we presented to council, and this is just another way to look at the different valuations that are.
I see.
Okay, like 75 cents is the upper limit of what the RCW allows. And then we have, their 25 cents on the far side. And then, oops. And then this shows the tax impact, kind of the side-by-side comparisons of the average homeowner, which is $500,000 in Lacey. And so it's the 225 for the 45 cent valuation, and then 150 per year for the 30 cent. So this is what we had shown to council last night. And then they did give direction for us to prepare the resolution with the 45 cent per 1,000. In terms of communication strategy, just a couple of things. Oops. No, that's okay. So these are those themes, and hopefully commissioners that are online, you're able to get that email to kind of match up with the map. But for kind of the overreaching communication strategy, we put these into themes. One is aquatics and indoor playground. So you can see spray parks, indoor playground, and increased access to water under that kind of bucket. Trails and open space access, so the Wonderwood Park trails resurfacing, Greg Keough Park next phase, which would add trails, and then increased access to natural areas. And then we have outdoor amenities, new and expanded features into existing parks, for example, pickleball, skate, and bike features and other play elements. The Meridian Park sports fields, Hunter Park, Holman Park, and then again, the Greg Keough Park next phase, bringing in that zip line to the playground that will have been built by that point. And then we had shared with council that we are working on a communications plan with our communications division, and we've made some great progress. These are the different elements of the communication plan, and we'll have that done here by the end of this month. And then, like I said, our city attorney reminded us all that use of public facilities and resources is not allowed by city staff and city council members. That we, for advocating for or against a Metropolitan Park District. And that, you know, our role is just to provide information and data to the public about it. And,
We can't stand in the corner.
so if there are things, and what he shared with us, if there are things we want to do on our own time and not on city property, then,
Yeah, you can
that's a separate, yeah, and just the use of devices too, you know, city devices are not to be used for any advocating for or against, but perfectly fine for sharing information about the MPD. And then I know we've covered some questions. I know a question came up last meeting about the role of this board, the Parks Board, if the MPD should pass. And so basically this board, nothing would change. This board would still be making recommendations to the Lacey City Council, just as you do now. So.
And the Lacey City Council becomes the Parks Board or the Metropolitan District Board.
The Lacey City Council, would be called the Metro. Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah, so they would, essentially what would happen is there'd have to be separate MPD meetings to look at the finances. And so they would, and what they do in Olympia is break from a council meeting to an MPD board meeting. But the council would still get recommendations from this board, no different than.
And it would be the whole council that would be the Metropolitan District Board, or would it be a
Right.
subset of the council? It'd be the whole council.
It's the whole council, yeah, it's the same exact. Yep. So anyway, thank you for allowing me to update you on that. I know.
Thank you. This is great information.
You're welcome. And again, if you want to watch the council meeting from last night, just take a peek at the very end of the agenda. So anyway, I do have to peel off to a different meeting, so appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Right, well, that means Scott Carter is our next presenter, and he's going to talk about the Park Watch program. Bye, Jen. Thank you.
I'm here to talk about the Park Watch program. I'm really excited that we're launching for the community. Been working on it for the past year and really excited for it to launch here this year and see how it goes. A little tagline that we're using to recruit volunteers is volunteering your time with Lacey Parks is walk in the park. Our program goals are to sign 12 contracts for the Park Watch in 2025. We want to report 600 hours in our parks in 2025. Part of this program is we meet by every other month, so do 4 Park Watch meetings, and that does not include our trainings. We want to develop a structure for a more robust program and allow for a lot more than 12 contracts. But talking with Sue and Jen, starting out, we want to make sure that if something falls through the cracks, we're able to catch it with a smaller group. And as years go on, we want to increase the amount of contracts that we sign and the amount of volunteers that we have out at the parks. And long-term, the program should allow us to have data that gives us a really good understanding of what's happening at the parks. Time and place and what needs we have at the parks. And so the idea is we collect data and speak with our Park Watch and give them ears to listen to. And whenever you guys come and meet and talk about things that we need to change in the city or things that we need to work on in the parks, you guys have data that you're able to look at and have a really good understanding of where that need actually is. And then we want to create community for the volunteers and give a place for their voices to be heard. This program is mirrored a little bit off of Metro Parks Tacoma, and they have a very, very successful Park Watch program. We have a few differences that we're going to have with our program, some of them being security. But I was able to attend one of their meetings last fall, and it was very powerful to see the investment that their volunteers had in the program. When I talked to Desiree, the volunteer supervisor up there, she talked about those meetings being the most important part of her program, and the meetings being where they get the most value in terms of where the volunteers are feeling their value. So the structure of the program is, like I said, we're gonna meet every other month. We're gonna get data real time. The contracts, we're not going to require the park watchers to watch a certain park. They're able to look at any of the parks that we have in our data sheet. So right now we're looking at the parks that Jenny looked at for her dog off leash research program, and I'm kind of building off of that program so that we're getting data all the time, and she doesn't have to spend her entire summer trying to find that data and trying to find staff to do that. And then a big piece that we're looking at that is a huge change from what Tacoma's doing is we're going to train our park watchers to not enforce any rules or approach any rule violators. This is a huge safety concern. We don't want the police being called for somebody having an off-leash dog. That's going to create issues within our city quite a bit. And we don't want our volunteers in any vulnerable situations. And so the volunteers won't be wearing T-shirts identifying that they're park watchers. I'm meeting with our facilities director next week to talk about signage, to be transparent that we are looking and collecting data on the parks. But we don't want our park watchers having any real conflict with any of the users, and they just simply report what they see, and they can sit at a bench and report what they see. They can walk around in the park. They can choose any park anytime that the park's open to look at data. The data collection, what we're gonna start looking at is location, date, our total users, when the volunteers start the program, start recording, when they end recording. And then we're gonna look more into dog violations, drug violations, vending, sleeping in parks, a lot of things that we don't have enough information on right now. The data we'll be able to look at time and place. And so this is just a sample. We don't have any data yet. We should be starting to collect data in the next couple of months, but it'll give us areas in the parks that these issues are happening. So this is a sample data where the red area is where we see a lot of off-leash dogs, and the yellow area is where we see a lot of vending. And the idea is Jen or whoever wants to be looking at data can use her analysis page, type in what park she wants to look at, what date range she wants to look at, and what time she wants to look at, and she'll be able to find out, are we having a lot of users in the afternoons at this park? Are we having a lot of off-leash dogs in this location at this time? Is it only this time of the year? Trying to figure out different pieces about that. And then lastly, this is just a little quote from Desiree Kennedy. Whenever I went up there, she talked a lot about how those meetings that they have with the watchers is really where the value for the watchers is. And that's because she's very, very clear with the volunteers that their reporting and their data collecting won't make immediate change. They are trying to build a big portfolio of data so that we can make big foundational changes, but that they might not see those changes occur during their time of being on the park watch, and that those changes may not come for years. And the reason she's so transparent about that is because the meeting I went and saw, I saw her coordinator give them an inch on stuff that they might look at changing. And as soon as they got an inch, they got really excited to take a mile. And so what she talked to me about is just making it very, very clear. We want to be your ears. We want to listen to everything that you guys are going through, everything that you're seeing, anything that we're not collecting in our data that we should know about that's happening quite frequently. And then she brings in, and the goal is we'll also bring in different people to talk. So the meeting I went to, they had some students from Wazoo come in and talk about Western cedar dieback and how the Western cedars are dying back from, but they started using that Park Watch to start collecting more data on Western Cedar Dieback. And the idea is we bring in different speakers, and every single meeting we have, we give them opportunities to speak about what they're dealing with and what they're seeing. And if we're not recording the right data and we're not looking for the right things, and really those meetings create community for the volunteers and community for the volunteers looking. And the reason we wanted to develop a volunteer program like this is I get calls all the time from people saying that we want to volunteer in the parks, but I don't want to pull weeds. I don't want to pick up trash. And a lot of the other maintenance stuff we have, as was mentioned earlier, we have a phenomenal maintenance team that takes care of everything else. So we wanted to have a way to increase community service hours, build community, and allow people that want to be able to serve the community an opportunity and an avenue to do so without grunt work. So with that, do you guys have any questions about the program?
Will the data eventually feed into a work plan that of changes that can be made and those kind of things, or are we just collecting data to put it on a shelf because have a big database?
I think it could, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would give it a lot more value that, you know, people are out there collecting this data for you, that it's not just gonna.
Right.
The idea is the data is going to be very interactive and answer questions that we don't have the answers to right now, and allow us to make more informed decisions.
I mean, I think that off-leash dogs was a perfect
Yeah.
example, you know,
Yeah.
we have all these complaints. And then when you look at it, yeah, there's quite a few, but comparative to how many people are using the parks, it's.
A lot lower than what we hear on the
Yeah,
phones.
right, exactly, but the complaints are significant, so.
Can you share that information with the commissioners?
Yes,
Their reports
absolutely,
When,
yes.
whenever they're, just
Yeah.
for information.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was built so that the database is built so that Jenny could pull it up. You guys asked in the middle of a meeting and she could pull up the data and give you any information you wanted. It's the foundation of what I wanted because I will not hear at every single meeting, and I want the data to be able to be real time, and you can find it pretty much anytime, any place.
Mr. Dykstra, do you have a question or comment?
Yes, I was curious, do you already have a pool of volunteers like ready to go for this? Or are you in the process of recruiting?
I do, and so I started with our Adopt a Trail. We had a few Adopt a Trail users that wanted to change trails and a few Adopt a Trail users that didn't realize how much labor they'd be doing. And so I have a group of 8 people that are meeting on March 19th. I think it'll probably be closer to 10 by then. I'm in talks with a few other people, and hopefully those meetings start going well and they grow smoothly, and throughout the year we can increase the amount of contracts that we're allowing in.
Cool. Thank you.
No problem.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments for Scott? We'll be expecting you to stay for the rest of the meeting. So, no, I'm kidding. You're welcome to go whenever you please. Appreciate it. All right, well, that brings on the 2024 annual report by Sue Falish, our recreation manager.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Are you gonna put the 24 one on there by chance, Jen? Me?
Thank you, Scott.
So the 2024 report was rather interesting. It was a great year. We had a really great year this year. Pretty much everything across the board had increased. I know she has it in there. I'm hoping we can.
Yep, give me 1 second.
Okay. One of the things, while Scott's here, I do want to mention is he's put a lot of time and energy into not only that watch program, but a lot of stuff that we're working with, not only with this annual report, but with a lot of our other staff. He is a whiz at getting into Civic Rec and getting all of this statistics and all of this data. So I want to do a big shout out to Scott for all the stuff he's not only done for me to get this done, but also he's helped out, you know, Sean and everybody else. So thank you very much for everything you do, Scott. 24 annual report. We can skip down. We can, if you want to move to the next slide. Yeah, nothing's really changed in here. We're pretty much in the same spot we were last year, obviously, because we haven't done anything else. So we're gonna skip down to the next one, Jen. If you want to look at our athletic, I know at the athletic complex, we were up in the tournament and league attendance, not a huge amount, but we were up pretty significantly. The hours used were up, the days were up. We had brought in just over $567,000 in just in the recreation side and rentals, which was up about 50,000 from last year. The ball fields up tremendously. So that's really nice to see. We'll go down to the next one. Did things just kind of little different than we've done in the past. Didn't really list out at one point in time. We had listed out all of the sponsors and some of that stuff, and that's also part of the next page. But these community events are great. The recreation, those are our hours of recreation, which is basically determined if you've got a class of 10 people and it's an hour long and it's just one time there's 10 hours. So Scott was able to pull some reports that was able to calculate all the hours of the programs times the number of participants times the number of days. And we are up about 70,000 from last year. And that's our attendance is up 15,000 from last year. So like I said, everybody's really excited to be in our programs, and we're out and we're doing what everybody wants us to do. Community events, we brought in, we had 13,000 more in attendance for the same 35 events. So go to the next slide. This is where I kind of changed from last year. Last year, I had tried to trying to give some shout out and listed out all the different sponsors. And this year we had so many that it just really wasn't going to be possible. And we wanted to have a little bit more of a definition of what a sponsorship is. Sponsors, they open up these avenues for new sources of revenue. I'm not going to read that all to you, but just kind of wanted to highlight what exactly we're getting. What are the benefits of the sponsorships? What are the benefits of the financial assistance? We allocated $13,000 worth of scholarships last year. There were 60 unique families, 144 unique participants. So that's a good chunk of our community that is being able to take part in our programs that wouldn't have been able to take part of it without our assistance. So that's very important data to know. Next. Just going to touch on the buildings. There's nothing really exciting about these. We're still, the days of use, pretty similar last year, this year for the community center. Shelters, that was one that went up. We had 70 more shelter reservations than we did last year. And it equated to 1,400 hours more of shelter use than we had in the past year. So people are getting out and not only using our programs, but they're using our facilities as well. Park maintenance, we include them in there because they are an integral part of ours. These are just some fun stats that Jamie likes to give. Talks about the number of trees planted, trees removed, work orders that were implemented, graffiti that was removed. And the one that always kills me is the from the rapid response team, the 14.56 tons of debris. That's a lot of garbage. Next slide. Not going to detail that. He just kind of talks about the different hours by category that people are utilizing, that the parks maintenance crew is spending. So, and it kind of does a little description, but you've got all this in your packet. And the next slide. Same with this, largely because I can't see. A lot of the park maintenance and the construction, the concepts for the Hummer Park is there, the design for the Woodland Creek Bridge, just kind of talks about some of the projects and some of the highlights from the park maintenance department, which we are trying to give you on a regular basis anyway. And the next slide. Same thing here, just kind of talked about programs and enhancements. Over on the right-hand side, it talks about, the donation grants and donations that we received. The middle one kind of is talking about a lot of the partnerships and the parks, funding work group and what went on there. And that far left is kind of talking about some of the stuff that we're able to start back up this year. We were able to start back up the ACT nights, which is now called the Lacey Teen Late Night. And we were able to open up a lot more of the teen programs than we had in the past since COVID. So everything's getting right back up to where it was. So that's nice to see as well. Next. This is just kind of talking about our partnerships, talking about our volunteers, the amount of time, the value that we're given, and the hours of the events that they volunteered at events, hours in the parks. And then a little bit about, the cost of what it takes to have a recreation program. It has the recreation programs, park maintenance, regional athletic complex, and the community center and the buildings. So it kind of breaks down where our expenses go, or where your money's going. And the next slide. Message from you lovely folks, and thank you very much for that. And then there's a nice message from the next one. Next slide is from the leadership team, which is Jan, Scott Egger, Scott Devlin, myself, and Jamie Oakland. So, and those are really kind of highlight everything that has been going on within the parks on both sides as well. So that's the annual report in a nutshell. I hope you have some time to really slowly go through and look at it. The staff that we have put a lot of time and a lot of energy in doing programs last year, and it really came through, and it was really evident in all of the numbers that we've gotten for all the increase in the numbers we've gotten for our programs. So shout out to them. They did a fantastic job. And that's it.
Awesome.
Any
Thanks.
questions?
Well, yeah, any questions before we move on to a vote to approve this wonderful document that was provided to us? Anyone? All right, well then, if there's no conversation, then I would call for a motion to approve the 2024 annual report. You got that? Okay, we got the motion. Do I get a second?
Second.
Commissioner David seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, hearing none, then your annual report has been approved. Sue Falish.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Any other discussions about or any other questions for Sue before we move on to the enhancements program? All right, hearing none, then Jenny Wilson, it is all yours.
All right, so in your packet included was an overview of the enhancement requests that we received from August to February. As a reminder, this is the process that we use when people want to request park improvements, in particular if they're contributing to the improvement. So once we get the requests, we review them twice a year. Staff meet, review the requests, and make recommendations to you for approval. A total of 4 requests came in during that timeframe, and we are recommending approval of 2 benches. One is for Lori Flem, our former Parks Director. One is from Glenn Crandall, who was a longtime Parks Board member. And one is a tree donation from Wendy Goodwin. And then one request, we're suggesting approval of all those. And then one request was for some area to have some wildflower seeds planted. And we are suggesting that that get approved, but with an alternate location. The location that was suggested was would involve tearing up some grass at Woodland Creek Park, which is maintenance had suggested that's not an ideal location, that there was a better location that would not involve tearing up grass. So that's what we're recommending to the person that submitted that request.
Are they comfortable with that?
I'm working with them on it. I think it's kind of on a slope, so I'm not sure that I think they're a little worried that the seeds will get washed away.
I see.
So we're still working on it with them, but.
Okay.
So there's 2 blocks of time that people can submit their ideas to you and what they want to do?
They can submit them at any time. We review them in August and in February.
Oh, okay.
So,
And you have a committee that does that?
yeah, so it's Jamie Oakland, me, and then Jen designates one other staff person. So right now that designee is Carter.
How many were submitted?
4.
Oh, just 4 were submitted and we've approved, and
Yep.
you're requesting to approve all of them?
Yep.
Okay.
We try really hard to, if people are willing to donate and provide most of the materials or the money, we really try. And Jamie's really great when the requests come in, like for example, the one for the, seeds, and they wanted to tear up the lawn. I was like, and he's really great about coming up with alternate, we never want to say no. We'll say, how about this instead? And that's really our goal, is to never turn folks away.
Now-
Was
Oh, no, please. Oh, Commissioner Davies, please.
They've raised my hand.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Is the Glenn Crandall, is that a memorial bench? Did he
No,
have?
no, sorry. Oh, good question. He's
Okay,
alive
I
and
worked
well.
with him at ecology, so I was like.
No, he's alive and well. Alive and well. He snowbirds in Arizona, and him and his wife walk at the regional athletic complex all the time.
Okay.
And he just thinks that there needs to be a bench there. And so,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks for asking.
I was just like, when I saw that when I was reading it, I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
there's something up.
Yeah, no, they're not always memorial benches. Sometimes people just want to put a bench in, so.
With that meadowscaping, and since it is kind of an area, is us voting for, is there gonna be any impact, like with needing a second vote or anything, if the scope of what they're needing changes too much?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think as long as, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think if there was a significant scope change, we would come back
Okay,
to you.
Okay.
But it's a pretty small area that they were looking at doing. And so I think what we have is finding an approval for an alternate location. So as long as we can do that, I think
Okay.
we're okay.
fantastic. Any commissioners online, do you have any comments or questions about the proposal?
I do not. Thank you.
All right, and commissioners here in the room, any questions? All right, well then, can I seek a motion to approve the enhancement program recommendations from our executive senior park planner extraordinaire?
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion?
Second.
All right, you guys are batting 1,000 then.
The Gary Laurie show.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, your action to approve the enhancement program has been approved.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Reach out to them.
Awesome. Well, that moves on to number 7. So we have reports. And so did any commissioners online, did they have any reports that they wanted to make at this time?
Got questions?
Okay, so
Maybe somebody, I don't know. On Marvin Road there, McAllister Park entry, they're putting a roundabout and they're
Mhm.
tearing out the railroad tracks. Is that official? They're not going back in? See, as I heard and understood, IP, paper company wouldn't release the use of the tracks. And that's why it was never incorporated into trails. But is that now gonna be part of the trail system?
I am not aware of a trail being,
Well,
Like-
you got Union Mills and the Weyerhaeuser Mill.
right.
They tore out the tracks, the contractors, and really the mess getting through there, and they're putting a roundabout in
Mhm.
up to 26th. But my question being, and I know a person, a high-level person at IP that told me what was going on with that. The city and county have approached them before to release their rail rights to bring in boxcars. And they wouldn't do it. And now I haven't spoke with that gentleman, but I just kind of curious. There's a lot of activity going there from Union Mills all the way to 26. Now another new development's going in. Looked like about a 40-acre development. They've cleared and grubbed in and started grading.
Yeah, I am not
That's a good
familiar
question.
with the
Huh?
That's a good
railroad.
question.
Yeah. Because the city and the county have been wanting to use those, convert the railroad to a trail, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was, I mean, that track doesn't, it's not, I mean, it's not really an operational track, right? They just have some box cars they want to keep stored on it. Is that correct?
No, Weyerhaeuser or IPA,
Mhm.
or International Paper or whatever it is, IP, wouldn't relinquish their rights to use box cars.
Oh, okay.
Now, if all the track is disturbed over Marvin Road, and it looks like they're doing some work, I was wondering if that's gonna become part of a trail system in the future. Now, I don't know if whoever, I think Tacoma Rail owns the right of way
Yeah,
in tracks.
okay.
And I'm not sure that has gone to that level.
TBD, we'll find out.
Yeah, I have not heard that, but
Yeah,
that
it'd be kind of like.
it would be great.
Yeah, it'd be great. I mean, I
Great.
just thought it was, seen the tracks going out and I've never seen so much utility work going on in my life. I go through there every day about
Right.
3-4 times.
Right,
And, yeah, I was saying that would be good.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Tacoma Rail gave up their lease, so I think it's a different company that has it now.
Oh, okay, that could be.
All great questions.
So I have a question, maybe it's part of your report. Do you have any update on our new members to the board?
It is part of my report,
Okay.
but I don't have an update. We have interviews. We have interviews tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
That was.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anyone, any other commissioner? Did you get satisfied? Well, I mean, you think your question
Yeah,
answered,
I-
but you
Somebody
got nothing else?
will ask, somebody
Okay.
will know. County level may know because it's in the county
Yeah.
project, so.
Okay.
Engineering probably knows here's what's going on. I see their trucks out there all the time. Lacey's, Public Works trucks.
Anything Lacey will do, they'll make it right, whatever's going on. Yeah, I got nothing today. So, Sue Falish, recreational manager, you got anything for us?
I do have a few things, just more of a kind of a highlight on things. We were having some issues with the sound system at the community center and we had a company come out and do an evaluation. We already know that we're gonna have to put in for an actual system next year, because that is actually the original sound system. We did some bits and pieces, but we got approved though to do an emergency replacing of the speakers because 6 out of the 8 speakers were blown. So those are going to be replaced as soon as Justin gets back from vacation. Roger and I have been working together to put together an internship program for the summer. We have 5 candidates we're hoping to interview next week. On that, all of our spring programs are in Civic Rec and things are registering. This is our first time not having a brochure, so I'll give you an update next month on how that went. And all of the city and school fields are open and playing right now. People are practicing on them right now. We are holding out, except for a couple of the grass fields at the rack. They usually open up a little later because we get so much use. But the field number 1, currently the synthetic is down because they are replacing it this month. So we'll have brand new synthetic. And that's all I've got for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sue.
Yep.
And Jenny, do you have the Parks Maintenance Supervisor report?
They onboarded 7 seasonal employees, gearing up for busier season. They replaced rotten beam at Rainier Vista Picnic Shelter. They completed their Parks Maintenance Annual Report. They mitigated 8 acts of graffiti, Homan, Woodland Creek, Meridian, Rack, and Long Lake. So that's kind of always on the list. Aerated and top-dressed athletic fields at the Rack. Installed 19 new irrigation controllers in right-of-ways. Opened restrooms that were closed for the winter. And then removed 12 hazard trees. Issued 12 firewood permits. Awarded a professional service contract for the removal of 26 hazard trees. Met with a contractor to plan security camera expansion project at Rainier Vista, the depot and community center. Poured concrete pad for new rules signs at Rainier Vista and transferred the security services contract to a new owner. And removed one tree from Long Lake Park that fell through a fence during the late February wind event. And replaced the rock climber at Bush Park Playground.
Awesome. A lot of work. All right, and now for your real,
I know.
your real report.
My real report. So just a reminder that tomorrow is a Cuyo Park groundbreaking. We're meeting here at 4 o'clock for the shuttle to the site. So I think Commissioner Wheeler, Davies and Larson, I think you are all confirmed for going, right?
We will be there.
How long do you think that'll last?
Not long, not
Okay,
very long.
good. I didn't think it would.
Yep,
but I
not very
wanted
long.
to check.
I think there's best, I
Long
think,
enough to put the shovel in it.
right, yeah.
The airport.
Should not be
I
very
thought
cold.
it'd be
Photo op.
Maybe we'll be back in an hour, I would assume.
Yeah.
So just a reminder, there's minimal construction has started. They've been issued the grading permit and they've installed silt fencing at the site. So, and just a reminder, don't wear nice shoes. It's a little muddy out there, so it's a
Good to know. It's a construction site.
it's a construction site. It's not really construction, but it's not.
It's ain't a park yet.
Yep, exactly. So,
Equipment is probably muddy.
yeah, they haven't had that site that we're meeting at. There's no like trucks going through there, but it's definitely not
Well, they mobilized in with trailers and equipment and all that.
where we're at. It's a little further down,
They have.
which is, we weren't sure exactly when they were gonna start, so we set up where we knew they wouldn't be mobilized, so. And then the RAC historic kiosk, just a reminder that there's a ribbon cutting ceremony on Saturday at 10 a.m. with Thurston County, if you'd like to attend that. And then last night at the council meeting, we said goodbye to Commissioner Good and Goodwin. It was their, they were presented with their public service award by the mayor. It turned out that Camber couldn't attend, so Jen gave lovely words about both of them, but it was funny. Wendy had probably 25 people that packed the council chambers to support her. It was really great. So it was lovely seeing Wendy. And then tomorrow, Chair Wheeler and I are joining Mayor Ryder for interviews for the 2 Parks Board positions that we have open. There's 5 candidates that we're interviewing, and they seem to have really strong backgrounds. So should be really exciting. And at the next meeting, we'll let you know more. Or send an email and let you know.
Would it be expected that those commissioners would be joining us at the next meeting if both approved?
Yeah, we don't have a meeting in April. So our next meeting is May, so I would assume that
Okay. Forgot why don't we have a?
it falls in spring break.
Oh, okay, okay. It was just,
around
okay.
spring, yeah.
Schools.
And then just a quick update that this week, actually yesterday, the museum curator and I toured the inside of the McKinney Building and the Long Lake House. So I don't know if you've been by the McKinney Building, but just a reminder that that's one of the projects on our list. And we're kind of waiting for a couple things to happen. One was our critical areas report for that site. And then also we have a consultant that the museum curator is working on to give us kind of the historic features of the house that are, need to be retained, or maybe not retained, but are historically significant. And if any features would lead us to putting the house on local, national, or state registers. So once we toured the site, the inside of the building with that consultant yesterday. So once we get that report back, we'll have a little bit more information on.
So it's not currently listed on any registers?
I don't know if that one is. I'm not sure. It might be on a local register. Not really. Back on that. But it was interesting going inside. They're both in pretty rough shape. Yep. They've both been broken into and vandalized. Obviously, they're boarded up, so, yeah. Anyways, just thought I'd give you that report, and that's all I had.
Thank you. That's it, right? We're done?
Yep.
Okay, well, good job, everyone. Thank you for being part of this. Commissioner Fosbra and Dykstra, thank you so much for being here. I know Commissioner Fosbra, you're probably pretty busy right now, so thank you for taking time out of your crazy schedule to be able to join us. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Awesome. Well, I call this meeting adjourned. I have no gavel. I need a gavel. Good night, everyone.
And our next meeting is in May, not April. Is it right?
Correct.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. We have this like conflict of